This program is brought to you by NewsClipTV.com. Make your own news. Register online and become a NewsClip TV reporter. NewsClip TV, your community news website.
Welcome to Persistence Pays TV. I'm your host, Lori Roudnask. On today's show, I've got Julie King with me from CanadaOne.com. CanadaOne.com was one of Canada's first .com companies that is still in business. They started over 15 years ago, and the business is booming. They are your source to go to for information about business, about change, and Julie's here to tell us all about what they do. So thanks for being on the show, Julie.
Thanks so much, Lori. I'm really thrilled to be here.
Well, it's awesome to have you on and to find out about what your company does and how they help businesses. And I was on the website, and you have a wealth of information on there. And so I want to just start with, how did you get into the business? How did you stay when other companies didn't make it? And being one of Canada's first .com companies, that's something to be really proud of.
Well, that's a really fun story to tell, because I actually didn't want to start Canada One. I had graduated from a small business training program, and I had struggled with finding information. Everything at that time was U.S. specific. I didn't need to know about the IRS. And so I actually went to several different people and pitched the idea that they should do a Canadian small business support website. I pitched the YMCA, I tried pitching the Ontario government, because they were doing the training programs like the one I'd been through. And eventually I got really frustrated, and I thought, you know what, no one's going to do this, maybe I should do this. And what was really neat about that process is that I thought, my first reaction, oh, I'm going to need $500,000, I can't do this myself.
Yeah.
So we took something that's really popular in business, which is called a SWOT analysis, where you look at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But I did that on myself, and my husband, who's also my business partner, we did it on him as well, and we realized we actually had most of the pieces of the puzzle that we needed in place. Great. So at that time, we basically put together a mini business plan for us internally, and we did it on a shoestring budget. We were told that if you were a media agency, a $500,000 launch was a cheap launch. Well, we did it on a budget at that time of less than $2,000 to $3,000.
Wow.
So, and that was mostly the design, the business cards and the graphics. So, yeah, we did it ourselves, and we've been never looked back.
Great. Now, I know last year you had over 683,000 visitors to your site.
Yeah.
And that's you've grown a long way with an investment that you've made 15 years ago.
Absolutely, because we started and it was 50 to 100 visitors a month, and so it has grown. And it's been a really exciting and dynamic process to have that growth. I think what's key to how we attract people is that we help solve people's problems, and we provide just-in-time information. So if you have a problem with an employee, or you suddenly have a question about getting a trademark for your business, you can go to Google, typically, or Bing, and you'll do a keyword search, and you'll find that there's an article on our website. Okay. And so people come in on a timely basis to solve the problems that they need to solve in-house right at that moment, because small businesses don't have the kind of counsel that larger businesses do.
Yeah.
They don't have an in-house lawyer, HR expert, office manager. All those pieces of the puzzle are missing.
Right.
So that's our job.
So they come to you for all kinds of information. When I was on your website, you have articles on there, you've got archived articles on there, and so you're touching on the things that are happening in business today in those articles?
Absolutely, yeah. The vision when we started Canada One, part of our SWOT analysis was we had a picture that was really big. It was basically building a library. And we realized we couldn't do that all at once. And so we started hitting, there's evergreen topics, so things that don't change very much, for example, trademarks. And but then we also have a whole bunch of content we'll put out each month on new and emerging issues in business as well. Like we just talked about how the government's going to get rid of the penny. That was a story that we put up last week.
Okay, that's great. Well, you know, that's too bad, because I don't know if you noticed the front walkway here is all done with pennies.
I did see that. I really like it. It's really creative.
So now I know on your site also, if anybody wants to know information about franchises, they can go there and find franchises, find out about information about franchise business.
Absolutely, and some of the legal things, legal pitfalls and things to consider if you're going to buy a franchise. The nice thing about a franchise business is that it tends to be more repeatable and successful. So for a lot of people who don't have business background, it's a safe safer way to enter owning your own small business.
Yeah.
I still love the person with the gumption to say, I'm doing it on my own, I'm going
Yeah.
to start from scratch. And we have a whole Starting a Business Guide, one of our most popular pieces actually, that has over 50, 60 articles on how to start a business in Canada. But if you are more comfortable, there is that franchise option.
Right, that's great. So what are some other options that we can find on the site?
Well, probably one of the most popular is our free business directory.
Okay.
So businesses all want to have publicity, they want help being found, and we want to help people connect with Canadian companies. And in the fall we launched something that we thought was really wonderful called the Verified Canadian Program that lets people stand out in an international marketplace. So the way that works is you submit your business to our directory, and we actually go and hand check to make sure it's actually a Canadian business. If they don't have an address or some way for us to trace them to being a Canadian company, they don't get in. And so then the companies can take the Verified Canadian stamp, put it onto their website.
Right.
Also, they can actually build out a whole mini website on Canada One. So you can go to canadaone.com/your business name, and actually /B/your business name. And then you can put in your social media links, you can put in a logo, you can put a map to your business. So you can actually build a custom advanced business card on Canada One.
So if a consumer was looking for a certain type of business, they could just go to Canada One and type it in your search. They'd bring up the businesses,
Yep.
and then it's all right at your fingertips.
Absolutely.
Great, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so what are some of the other things? Tell me, because I know there's a ton. I was trying to remember everything.
I think, well, the thing I'm having the most fun with is the videos. So
Okay.
we started producing videos actually, I think 5 or 6 years ago. And one of our most popular ones, which is on YouTube, is one with Billy Blanks, the Tybo guy. And he's talking about how he's built a successful company. Fantastic story.
Okay.
Because I think video really helps capture and bring across that story really well.
It does, and the person, right?
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
the characters. So we've got some seminars on there as well. Probably one of the most effective is one on Facebook ads with Marty Weintraub. Just 25, 30 minutes, something in there. Fantastic information.
Okay, great. So it's a real way for a small business owner, medium business owner, large business owner to come on to your site and find out any information about business, about changes in the
Yep.
trends, because change happens all the time. So how do you keep up with all the change? How do you keep your site going when there's so many things happening to change?
Well, I'm a big fan of Twitter, actually.
Okay.
And a lot of people really misunderstand Twitter. I actually do a half-day social media boot camp, and my goal is to get as many Canadian business owners as possible using some of these social media channels. So people think Twitter is about what did you have for lunch, or you went to the bathroom. Of course it's not. I mean, maybe there's a small segment of it that use it that
Yeah.
way. But it's about breaking news. It's about overthrowing governments. It's about radical change. It's about up-to-the-minute news and information. And so if you follow the right people, it helps you tap into this incredible crowd, knowledge sourcing through the crowd.
Right.
So it's just a wonderful way to keep up. The challenge is to choose and to limit when there's so much information that could be talked about and published.
Okay, great. So if you could give any advice to business owners, what would your advice be?
I think that you need to have an adaptive mindset. I mean, if you look at the fact that we're still here after 15 years, we wouldn't be if we had a rigid idea of how to run a business and stayed the same. And so you need to be adaptive and you need to be open to new technologies. But a great analogy is to think about the internet and some of these new things, like walking into Toys R Us or a big toy store with a young child. The first experience is absolutely overwhelming. You don't know where to look, and it's so visual. You feel completely sensory overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So, but then you'll go in 1 minute, 2 minutes later, and you do the entire store in 15 minutes and go like, oh, there's nothing here. So the internet's like that. We need to approach it and recognize that we're being overwhelmed, and then when we have that knowledge, it's easier to step back and say, well, I'm just going to ignore most of what I see and selectively choose to get involved and just progress slowly, but don't stay out of the playground.
Right.
I love to think of it as a playground.
Yeah. Well, and it can take up a lot of your time too. It can suck up all your day, and then all of a sudden you look and it's the day's over, and like, what have I done productively? Because a lot of times with
Yeah.
email and internet, it can take up a lot of your time. So you have to use your time wisely.
Absolutely, and I'm a huge believer in being strategic, understanding what your business goals and objectives are for everything that you do, whether it's online or offline. And we've got a lot of articles written on that on Canada One.
Just being organized.
being organized and scheduling and approaching it from the point of view like you would approach any other task. So let's say you want to use Twitter, so look at what you have to say, or you want to blog, plan it out, start doing things, get a content pool in advance, and have a content schedule. Yeah. And then start publishing, and use tools that let you schedule it, so you're not going on every 10 minutes and adding a tweet, that you schedule 15 tweets. But then also have the stuff pushed to you. So if somebody replies, you want to give them a timely thank you. Yeah. So make sure that that email is coming in so that you can go when there is interaction and engagement and participate.
Right. So staying with the times and staying with the changing and be adaptive is great advice. Anything else that you'd like to close with, Julie?
Well, I think that being aware of coming technology trends and changes is really important. That Canadian small businesses are sometimes reluctant to embrace new technologies and innovation. And innovation is not just about a big company inventing something brand new. Innovation takes place when you find a way to shortcut the process of getting a photo onto your website by using new mobile technology, like having a tablet, and buying Photoshop Touch, which at $9.99 is much more affordable than the multi-$100 product.
Right.
So being willing to embrace technological change and link that to your business processes and find ways to use technology to improve your business processes. I think almost every business in existence has the opportunity to improve.
And when you improve with technology such as the tablet that you were showing me earlier, the nice thing about that is that it saves you time in the long run when you learn how to use it. It's like when you learn how to use it, it's probably not as hard as most people think.
It's actually, I'd say, easier. And I find this is so light, and I'm carrying 4 quad-core processors, so I'm carrying more computing power here than I have in some of the older computers, desktop computers in my office.
Right.
And so the ability, we're being freed up in business. We used to be bogged down with administrative processes and secretaries and big filing cabinets. Even just doing bookkeeping was really quite a laborious chore. Now we've got the point where you can do mobile road invoicing, bookkeeping, communication with clients, email, conferencing. You can do web conferencing, and most of these programs are free.
Yeah.
So it's really going to revolutionize the business world, and Canadian businesses need to make sure they're aware of it.
Right.
There's this idea in business that what you see is all there is. So we need to make sure we don't put on blinkers and let the world race past us because we don't see the change that's coming.
And all of these things will actually help you be more productive in your business.
They can,
yeah.
But again, if you combine it with strategy.
Right.
Yeah, and you understand why you're doing it. You're not just doing it because it's there.
Right. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being on, Julie. You've given lots of information, and there's business guides, as I said, the Canadian Franchise Finder, articles, Canada One Small Business Magazine is on your site as well. Talk Business on Canada One, Canadian Business Events Calendar, I thought that was great, and a Canadian Business Directory. So all of those things plus much more are on the site. So be sure you go to Canada One, and that's O-N-E, not the number 1, CanadaOne.com, and check out the site, and it can really bring you a wealth of information and help your business. And as Julie said, be adaptive and be ready for the change that comes along every day. So thanks for joining Persistence Pays TV, and we'll see you next time.